President Obama is laying out his plan to fight the spread of Ebola in West Africa today. I'm Francesca Page, and this story tops your Newsmax Now update. The president spoke at the CDC after meeting with officials to discuss the outbreak that has killed more than 2,000 people. Obama also took a moment to thank American doctors and said the U.S. is prepared should the virus make its way to the U.S.
Should any cases appear in the United States, we have world-class facilities and professionals ready to respond, and we have effective surveillance mechanisms in place.
Obama said Ebola is not just a regional threat to African economies, but rather a global threat that must be controlled. The U.S. is also calling for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council on Thursday to discuss the Ebola outbreak. Ambassador Samantha Power said the United States is asking all 193 member states to offer concrete commitments to tackle the virus. U.S. officials say the health crisis in West Africa is dire and getting worse each day. In Washington, Senate leaders say they anticipate voting in favor of a continuing resolution that would help fund the arming and training of Syrian rebels combating ISIS.
I support what the president's doing. I'd like to take another look at it a couple of months from now and see how it's working out.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says passing the CR will give Congress a chance to revisit the situation in Syria before the end of the year. And Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel spent a good portion of the morning on Capitol Hill today. The Secretary of Defense spoke about the Obama administration's plan to combat ISIS at the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing.
The United States will draw on intelligence, law enforcement, diplomatic, and economic tools to cut off ISIL's funding, improve our intelligence, strengthen homeland defense, and stem the flow of foreign fighters in and out of the region.
In the meantime, the governors of New York and New Jersey are now working to put together a new emergency response plan for their states. The new series of precautions come after a meeting with Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson yesterday. New York's Andrew Cuomo says mounting hostilities between the U.S. and Islamic extremists have increased the risk of terror attack in that region. The European Union is strengthening its ties with Ukraine today. The European Parliament voted to ratify an agreement that deepens their economic ties with Kiev. The economic pact sees the former Soviet republic stepping farther away from Russian influence. And in Israel, the IDF says mortar fire shot from inside Gaza has hit southern Israel. This is the first report of an attack since the end of the Operative Protective Edge. Both sides agreed to ceasefire after mounting international pressures. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to New York and the Steve Malzberg Show.